On Christmas morning, my son handed me coffee. "Dad, drink this special brew I made for you." John had never made me coffee before, not once in 40 years. Something felt wrong. His hands trembled. His smile was too wide. When he turned away, I switched my cup with his wife's. 30 minutes later, a horrifying scene unfolded in my living room. I'm so grateful you're here with me. Before I share what unfolded in those next horrifying minutes, please subscribe to the channel, like button, and tell me where you are right now and what time it is. Comment below. I read every single one. My son handed me the coffee with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. I've been a literature teacher for 44 years. I know how to read subtext. John's smile was bright and wide and completely empty. His eyes told a different story, one I didn't want to believe. It was Christmas morning in Denver, 9 o'clock, and the December chill made everything feel gray. I'd driven from Austin to their place in the Bronx neighborhood, past closed shops and faded holiday lights. 4 years since Jennifer died. 4 Christmases without her. This year felt different. "Dad, Merry Christmas." John wrapped me in a hug the moment I stepped through the door. Too tight. Too enthusiastic. The wrongness hit me as soon as I walked in. Patricia sat on their gray couch wrapped in an oversized cardigan despite the heater running. Her eyes were red-rimmed. "Hi, Alex," she said softly. Not warm, just flat. "Everything all right, Patricia?" "Fine, just tired." She looked away, picking at a thread. John moved toward the kitchen. "I'm making coffee, Dad. Your favorite dark roast Colombian. Just the way you like it." I followed him. John wasn't a coffee person. He drank energy drinks. Patricia was the coffee maker in this house. Always. "Since when do you make coffee?" I asked. "Since today." That smile again. "Wanted to do something special for you." He pulled out 2 identical white mugs, poured black coffee into both. His hand trembled slightly as he held one out to me. "I made this one special for you, Dad." I took it, feeling the heat through the ceramic. John stood there watching me, waiting. That's when my teacher instincts kicked in. 44 years of watching students try to hide things. You develop a radar. Every alarm in my head was screaming. I glanced at Patricia's mug on the coffee table. Same white ceramic. Same dark liquid. John turned away to grab the TV remote. "Let me put on the Broncos game." In those 3 seconds, I made a decision I didn't fully understand. My hand moved on its own, reaching across the coffee table, switching the mugs, mine to Patricia's spot, hers to mine. "Chut, here you go." "Patricia," I said, offering her what had been my mug. "John made this especially for you." She looked up confused, but took it. "Thanks." John spun around. The color drained from his face like someone pulled a plug. His eyes locked on the mug in Patricia's hand. "Wait, Dad. That's..." He stopped himself. I looked at him. "That's what..." "Nothing." He swallowed hard. I looked at him really hard. "Nothing." He swallowed again. "I just wanted you to try those specific beans from that roaster downtown." "Specific beans," I repeated. "Yeah, the one you like." I'd never mentioned a roaster downtown. We both knew it. The room went silent except for the heater clicking. Patricia raised the mug to her lips, taking a small sip. John's knuckles went white around the remote. I stood in my son's living room on Christmas morning, watching him watch his wife drink coffee that was meant for me. And I understood what Faulkner meant about the human heart in conflict with itself. My heart was breaking. So was John's. But for very different reasons. John froze. His face went pale. And in that moment, I knew whatever was in that coffee, it wasn't meant for Patricia. I settled back into my chair and waited to see what would happen next. For the next 25 minutes, I watched my son like a scientist observing a dangerous experiment. I stayed in my chair, sipping the coffee John had poured for himself. Bitter, safe, ordinary. Which meant everything wrong was in Patricia's cup. John perched on the edge of the couch, knee bouncing. Every 30 seconds, he checked his watch, then glanced at Patricia, then back to his watch, like he was timing something. 10 minutes in, he disappeared into the kitchen. I heard his voice low and urgent, words I couldn't make out, but the desperation was clear. When he returned, his face was chalk white. 15 minutes in, Patricia set down her mug. "I feel strange," she said quietly. John's head snapped toward her. "Strange how?" "Dizzy, and my heart feels fast." I leaned forward. "Patricia, look at me." Dilated pupils, shallow breathing. "How fast?" "Really fast." Her hand pressed against her chest like she'd just run stairs. John paced behind the couch. "Maybe it's that flu going around." "This isn't flu," I said flatly. 20 minutes in, sweat appeared on Patricia's forehead. Her hand trembled against her face. 25 minutes in, her skin went from flushed to pale in seconds. 30 minutes in, she gasped, both hands clutching her chest. "John," her voice strangled. "My heart. Something's really wrong." "Patricia." John dropped to his knees beside her, hands hovering uselessly. His panic looked almost convincing. Almost. "Call 911 inches, I said. Cold and clear. Now." John fumbled his phone, shaking. "Yes, my wife. She's having some kind of attack." While he gave the address, I watched Patricia. Rapid, shallow breathing, lips losing color. This was cardiac distress. The paramedics arrived fast. 2 of them, efficient and calm, loading Patricia onto a gurney. Heart rate 140 inches, one called out. BP 190 over 110. They wheeled her out. John stopped at the door, looking back. "Dad, are you coming? I'll meet you there." The door closed. The house went silent except for the heater's hum. I stood there staring at the coffee table. 2 mugs, mine empty and safe, and Patricia's still half full. In the kitchen, I found paper towels and a Ziploc bag in their junk drawer. I moved slowly, deliberately, wrapped the mug Patricia had drunk from my mug, the one John made special in paper towels, sealed it in plastic. Evidence. I stood alone in my son's living room holding that sealed bag and understood something with absolute clarity. John hadn't just tried to hurt me. He'd tried to kill me. And now I had proof. Denver Health Medical Center smelled like antiseptic and bad news. I drove straight from John's house, the Ziploc bag sitting on my passenger seat like evidence at a crime scene. Through downtown Denver, past Christmas decorations that now looked wrong, to the hospital where Patricia was fighting for her life because of coffee meant for me. John sat in the ER waiting area, head down, staring at his phone. When I sat 3 seats away, he didn't look up. We waited 2 hours in silence. He never asked how I was, never met my eyes. Finally, a doctor emerged, mid-40s, tired eyes, storm gray scrubs, Garcia family. He gestured us toward a private room. "I'm Dr. Charles Ford. Mrs. Garcia is stable, but we found something concerning." "What do you mean?" John's voice cracked. Doctor. Ford pulled up a chart. Her blood work shows toxic levels of stimulants. Heart rate was 148 when she arrived. Blood pressure dangerously high. We're running more tests to identify the exact substances. But I can tell you this. These levels don't happen by accident. This is deliberate poisoning. John shot to his feet. That's impossible. She just drank coffee. Just coffee. Doctor. Ford's tone made it sound like an accusation. I reached into my jacket, pulled out the Ziploc bag. I switched cups with Patricia before drinking. This is what my son gave me. The room went dead silent. Dad. What are you? John's face drained of color. This needs to be tested, I said to Dr. Ford. He took the bag, studying the wrapped mug inside. I'm calling the police. This is a criminal matter. Shh. You can't be serious, John said, voice shaking. This is insane. I didn't do anything. You made that coffee for me, I said quietly. And 30 minutes after Patricia drank it, she was in cardiac distress. 20 minutes later, Detective Patricia Lane arrived. Mid-40s, short dark hair, sharp eyes that cataloged everything. She separated us for interviews. First, Patricia in her hospital room. Through the door, I heard her weak voice. I don't understand what happened. I just drank the coffee John made. Then John in another room, his voice rising defensive. This is a misunderstanding, an overreaction. Absolutely ridiculous. Finally, my turn. Detective Lane sat across from me in a small office. Mr. Garcia, walk me through this morning. Every detail. I told her everything. John's empty smile, the coffee, the strange silence, the instinct that made me switch cups. Why did you switch them? She asked. Because I've been reading people for 44 years. Detective, everything about my son was wrong. I slid the Ziploc bag across the table. This was meant for me. She picked it up, studied it with careful attention. Then she looked at me and I saw recognition in her eyes. Not of me, of the situation. She'd seen this before. Mr. Garcia, she said quietly, I think we need to have a very long conversation, and I'll need you both to come to the station once we have the lab results back. She paused, weighing the bag in her hand. Because if what I suspect is true, your son didn't just try to make you sick. Her eyes met mine, and I saw the truth there before she spoke it. He tried to kill you. 48 hours later, the lab results came back, and they were worse than I'd imagined. Detective Patricia Lane spread the papers across the table between us. The interrogation room at Denver Central smelled like burnt coffee and bad news. 3.5 grams of pure caffeine, she said. That's about 35 shots of espresso in one cup. For someone your age, Mr. Garcia, you'd have been dead within an hour. I stared at the number on the page. 3.5 grams. Such a small thing to stop a heart. There's more, Lane continued. 150 milligrams of ephedrine. It amplifies the caffeine's effect. Whoever made this knew exactly what they were doing. She paused. Your son studied chemistry, didn't he? He minored in it in a college. I said, my voice sounded far away. Lane slid another paper toward me. We found a life insurance policy. $600,000 taken out on you in October. Beneficiary John Garcia. The room got smaller. I never signed that. We know. Our forensic analyst confirmed it yesterday. The signature is a forgery. She turned her laptop toward me. We also found emails between your son and a man named Cruz Kent. Kent's a document forger. The emails go back to September. September, 3 months before Christmas morning. I need you to read these, Lane said quietly. The first email was dated September 18th. John to Kent, need clean signature replication life insurance docs. High accuracy required. Discretion essential. The reply came 4 days later. Understood. We'll need 5 to 6 signature samples. Price $8,000. Half up front. Then October 3rd. The one that made my hand shake. Policy needs to look natural. He has heart history. Make it look like age and stress. I read that line twice. He has heart history. I don't have heart problems. My physical in July came back perfect. The doctor had joked about me outliving everyone. John had been there. He'd laughed. But he'd told this Kent person I had a bad heart. He'd lied to make my death look expected. Natural. When did he decide, I asked, about the coffee? Lane pointed to another email. December 10th. Docs are perfect. Christmas morning family tradition. He always comes alone. Window 9 to 10 a.m. I sat back in the chair. Somewhere down the hall, a phone kept ringing. My son had planned to kill me on Christmas morning. Had bought the caffeine. Paid $8,000 for a forged signature. Invited me to breakfast. Knowing he'd serve me poison in a cup he brewed himself. I had taught him to read. Walked him to his first day of kindergarten. Sat in the bleachers at every Little League game. Helped him write his college essays. Cried at his wedding to Patricia. We're building a case for attempted murder and insurance fraud, Lane said. These emails, the lab results, the forensic analysis. It's strong evidence. We'll need you to testify. I looked at the email on the screen again. He has heart history. Make it look natural. I thought about John at 7 years old crying because he'd stepped on a beetle. John at 15 volunteering at the animal shelter every weekend. John at 22 calling me at midnight because he'd gotten his first real job and wanted me to be the first to know. Then I looked back at the words on the screen. I thought I knew my son, I said. I was wrong. Lane closed the laptop. There's more we need to discuss about why he did this. But that's for tomorrow. She stood. Go home, Mr. Garcia. Get some rest. I walked out into the cold December afternoon. The snow had started again. I didn't know the man who'd written those emails. And maybe I never had. But insurance fraud wasn't the whole story. Detective Lane dug deeper, and what she found explained everything. She called me on December 29th, the day after I'd read John's emails. Mr. Garcia, we need to talk about your son's finances. I drove back to the precinct. Lane had spreadsheets covering her desk. Online poker, she said. John lost $200,000 in 8 months. Money from joint accounts with Patricia. Credit cards. Personal loans. She slid a printed email across the table. And then this. The email was from an anonymous address. No name, just numbers. December 10th, 2 weeks before Christmas. Mr. Garcia, you have 2 weeks to pay $120,000. If not, we take collateral. Your wife is beautiful. Would be a shame if something happened to her. Or your father. I read it twice. Loan sharks. The worst kind. Lane said the insurance money was his only way out. $600,000. Enough to pay them off and still have something left. I sat back in the chair. He was going to kill me to pay off gambling debts. Lane nodded. We have enough for an arrest warrant, attempted murder, insurance fraud, document forgery. When, I asked. Tomorrow morning. The next day, December 30th, I followed the police to John's house. It was 6 a.m., still dark outside. I don't know why I went. Maybe I needed to see it for myself. Lane knocked. John opened the door in his bathrobe, face pale like he hadn't slept in days. "John Garcia, you're under arrest for attempted murder, insurance fraud, and document forgery." Two officers moved forward with handcuffs. John's eyes found mine over Lane's shoulder. "Dad, please tell them this is a mistake. You know me. I would never—" "I don't know you," I said. My voice came out cold, steady. "Not anymore." Patricia ran down the stairs. "What's happening?" "John, what did you do?" Lane turned to her. "Your husband tried to poison his father for insurance money." Patricia's legs gave out. She grabbed the door frame. No, that's not John." But John was looking at me. "Dad, please." The officers led him to the patrol car. His voice carried across the lawn. Dad, please." I got in my truck and drove home to Austin. That afternoon, I sat alone in my living room. The house was too quiet. I looked at the photos on the wall. Jennifer, John as a kid, Christmas mornings from years ago. I thought about Jessica. She'd been my student 10 years back before she went into social work. After Jennifer died, Jessica had checked on me every week for months, brought groceries, fixed my porch light, sat with me when the silence got too heavy. "You're stronger than you think, Mr. Garcia," she'd told me once. I didn't feel strong now. I felt empty. The doorbell rang at 7. I opened it to find Jessica standing there holding a bag of soup and bread. "Mr. Garcia," she said, "I saw the news. I came as soon as I could. And for the first time since Christmas morning, I cried." Jessica stepped inside and hugged me. I broke down. "I put my own son in jail." "Jessica, no," she said quietly. "He put himself there when he poisoned your coffee. You just survived, and that's what matters." That night, I lay awake in the house where I'd raised John, where I'd taught him to ride a bike on that driveway, where I'd read him bedtime stories in the room upstairs. And I wondered, when did I lose him? Was it the first bet he placed, the first lie he told? Or had I lost him years ago and just never noticed? 3 months later, on a cold March morning, I walked into Denver County Courthouse to testify against my own son. Jessica came with me. She'd been coming by twice a week since December, bringing groceries, checking on me, sitting with me when the silence got too heavy. Today, she sat in the gallery behind the prosecution table, her presence the only thing keeping me steady. The courtroom was packed. Reporters, curious locals, law students taking notes. And John, I hadn't seen him since his arrest. He'd lost at least 20 pounds. His face was gaunt, beard unkempt, eyes hollow. The orange jumpsuit hung off his shoulders. When our eyes met, his lips moved. "Dad," I looked away. "All rise," the bailiff called. Judge Patricia Blake entered, her gray hair pulled back, expression unreadable. Prosecutor Barbara Stone stood. She was 50, silver-haired, sharp as a blade. "This is a case about greed, betrayal, and a son who tried to murder his father for $600,000. Defense attorney Christopher Grant countered. Younger, gray suit, desperation in his voice. "This is a case about a desperate man who made terrible mistakes, but never intended to kill anyone. Stone called me first. The state calls Alex Garcia." My hands shook as I took the witness stand. The oath felt heavier than it should have. "I do." Stone asked me to describe Christmas morning. I told them about the drive to the Bronx neighborhood, the strange atmosphere, Patricia's silence, John's too wide smile when he handed me the coffee. Something in his eyes told a story I didn't want to believe. I said, "I've taught literature for 44 years. I know how to read subtext." "What did you do?" Stone asked. I looked at John. He was crying silently. When he turned away, I switched our cups. I gave my coffee to Patricia. Why? Because my instincts told me something was wrong, and a father's instincts are rarely mistaken. I described Patricia collapsing, the ambulance, the way I'd wrapped the coffee cup in a Ziploc bag. When I got to John's whispered phone call, "The plan failed. She drank it instead." My voice cracked. "What did you think when you heard that?" Stone asked. I looked straight at John. "I thought my son had tried to kill me." Stone presented the emails, the forged insurance policy, the lab results. 3.5 grams of caffeine, 150 milligrams of ephedrine. "No further questions, Your Honor." Judge Blake nodded. "Defense may cross-examine." Christopher Grant approached me, expression sympathetic, calculated. "Mr. Garcia, isn't it possible you misheard what your son said on the phone?" "No." "But you were stressed. Your daughter-in-law had just collapsed. Couldn't stress affect your perception?" "I know what I heard," I said. He said, "The plan failed. She drank it instead." Couldn't that refer to something else, a Christmas surprise that went wrong? Combined with everything else, the forged insurance policy, the poison in the coffee. I shook my head. "No, that wasn't a Christmas surprise." Grant kept pushing, trying to make me doubt my memory, my perception, my interpretation. But I'd had 3 months to replay that morning in my head. 3 months of therapy with Dr. Linda Caldwell, who'd helped me understand that grief and certainty could coexist. "I know what I heard," I repeated. "I know what he did." Grant finally sat down. As I stepped down from the witness stand, legs trembling, I couldn't look at John. Behind me, I heard Prosecutor Stone say, "The state calls Dr. Charles Ford." This trial was far from over, and so was my nightmare. 2 days later, after testimony from Dr. Charles Ford, Detective Patricia Lane, Patricia, and a forensic handwriting expert, the jury was sent out to deliberate. Day 2 had been brutal. Dr. Ford walked the jury through the toxicology report. 3.5 grams of caffeine, 150 milligrams of ephedrine, enough to stop a heart in minutes. Detective Lane presented emails, forged insurance documents, and the timeline John had built over 3 months. Every step planned, every move deliberate. Then Patricia took the stand. Her voice cracked as she spoke. "I trusted him. I loved him. And he almost killed me by mistake." The forensic handwriting expert confirmed what we already knew. The signature on the insurance policy wasn't mine. John never testified. His attorney advised against it. On day 3, closing arguments began. Prosecutor Stone's voice was steel. This defendant planned to murder his father for money. He forged documents. He purchased poison. He brewed that coffee knowing it could kill. The only reason Alex Garcia is alive is because he trusted his instincts and switched cups. Defense attorney Grant tried to soften the blow. "My client made terrible mistakes. He gambled. He lied. But he never intended to kill anyone. He was desperate, under pressure from loan sharks, not thinking clearly." At noon, Judge Blake sent the jury out. Jessica and I waited in the hallway. 4 hours crawled by. I drank bad vending machine coffee and stared at the floor, unable to think. Then the bailiff appeared. The jury has reached a verdict. We returned to the courtroom. My heart pounded. John sat at the defense table, hands clasped, face drained of color. Judge Blake entered. Has the jury reached a verdict? The foreperson stood, calm and steady. We have, Your Honor. The clerk read the first charge. Attempted murder. Guilty. A breath left the room all at once. Somewhere behind me, Patricia sobbed. I felt nothing, just emptiness. Insurance fraud. Guilty. Document forgery. Guilty. Judge Blake struck the gavel. John folded forward, head in his hands, shoulders shaking. 2 weeks later, we returned for sentencing. John Garcia, Judge Blake said, you are sentenced to 15 years in the Colorado State Penitentiary for attempted murder, 5 years for insurance fraud, and 3 years for document forgery. To run concurrently, you will be eligible for parole after serving 10 years. The bailiff stepped forward. John turned and looked at me one last time. His lips trembled. I'm sorry, Dad. I said nothing. I only nodded once. Not forgiveness. Acknowledgement. Then he was gone. The courtroom emptied slowly. I remained seated, unable to move. Jessica sat beside me. Mr. Garcia, it's over. I shook my head. No, it's just beginning. In the hallway, Prosecutor Stone shook my hand. Justice was served today. Was it? I asked quietly. My son is going to prison for 15 years. Where's the justice in that? She didn't answer. Outside, Denver's cold wind swept the courthouse steps. My family was shattered. Patricia had moved back to Seattle and filed for divorce within a week. And me, I didn't know how to rebuild a life destroyed by poison and greed. Jessica walked beside me in silence. What do I do now? I asked. You survive, she said. One day at a time. I nodded. But driving back to the empty house in Austin, one question wouldn't leave me. How do you survive when the person who tried to kill you is the same one you once read bedtime stories to? The first 6 months after the trial were the hardest of my life. I didn't sleep. Every night I dreamed about Christmas morning, John's smile, the coffee cup, Patricia collapsing. Sometimes I dreamed about John as a child riding his bike down our driveway laughing. Then the dream would shift, and he'd be in prison orange crying behind bars. Jessica came every Sunday. She'd bring soup and bread from the local bakery, sit with me in the quiet house, never pushing me to talk. One Sunday in early May, she looked at me across the kitchen table. Mr. Garcia, you've lost 15 pounds. You're not sleeping. You need to talk to someone. A professional. I'm fine. Jessica. No, she said gently. You're not. Please. The next week, I called Dr. Linda Caldwell. She specialized in elder abuse trauma. The first session was brutal. I sat silent for 20 minutes. You don't have to speak if you're not ready. Doctor, Caldwell said. She was 50, kind eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. But I want you to know what happened to you wasn't your fault. How could it not be? My voice cracked. I raised him. You raised a child. He made his own choices as an adult. That distinction. It took me months to understand it. In mid-May, Patricia called. Alex, can I visit? She came to Denver on a rainy Saturday. She'd lost weight too, eyes swollen from crying. We sat in my living room. Both of us damaged by the same man. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. I hugged her. "This isn't your fault. Patricia, you're a victim too." She cried. "He almost killed you. He almost killed me. I keep thinking, what if you hadn't switched those cups? But I did. We both survived. That's what matters." She told me she was divorcing John, filing the papers next week. "I can't be married to someone who tried to murder his own father. I understand. You need to do what's right for you." She went back to Seattle 2 days later. Every month after that, she sent me cards, short notes. "Thinking of you." By August, I was seeing Dr. Caldwell twice a week. Slowly, I began to open up. "Have you thought about turning your experience into something positive?" she asked one session. "Like what?" "Helping others. You survived elder abuse. Your story could save lives." I thought about that for a week. In late August, I contacted the Colorado Coalition Against Elder Abuse. They invited me to speak at a community center. 50 seniors sat in folding chairs. My hands shook. My voice broke. "My name is Alex Garcia, and my son tried to kill me." The room went silent. I told them everything: the coffee, the poison, the forged insurance policy, the trial. Afterward, 3 people came up to me privately. They were being financially abused by their own children. They didn't know what to do. I gave them Dr. Caldwell's number, Detective Lane's contact information, resources. For the first time in 6 months, I felt something other than grief. I felt useful. In September, I wrote an essay, "The Coffee Cup That Saved My Life, A Teacher's Survival Story." Posted it on Medium. Within 2 weeks, it had 50,000 shares. I got hundreds of emails, seniors, families, people saying, "Thank you for speaking up." One message from a 75-year-old woman in California: "Your story made me realize my daughter's been stealing from me for years. Today, I called a lawyer. Thank you for giving me courage." I cried reading that, but not from sadness, from hope. Jessica visited that weekend. She found me smiling for the first time in months. "Mr. Garcia, you look different." "I feel different," I said. "I think I'm going to be okay." As the second Christmas since the incident approached, I realized something had changed inside me. I wasn't afraid anymore. Not of John, not of coffee, not of Christmas mornings. I was just ready. Ready to try again. Ready to live. 2 years after my son tried to kill me, I woke up on Christmas morning without fear. The house was quiet. No nightmares had come the night before. Just sleep. Deep. Dreamless. Peaceful. I walked downstairs at 7 o'clock. Denver's gray light filtered through the kitchen windows. Snow tapped softly against the glass, the same chill that had fallen 2 years ago. I opened the cabinet and pulled out the coffee. Dark roast Colombian blend, the same kind John had used, but this time I'd bought it myself. I'd brewed it myself, and I would drink it without hesitation. While the coffee maker gurgled, I sat at the kitchen table and saw the envelope. Colorado State Penitentiary stamp. John's handwriting. The 3rd letter in 2 years. The first one, 6 months ago, I hadn't opened, just put it in a drawer. The second one, 3 months ago, I'd read but didn't answer. This time, I unfolded the page. "Dad, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just need you to know I think about you every day, about what I did, about who I used to be. I'm getting help here. Therapy twice a week. Gamblers Anonymous meetings. I'm learning about addiction. about the lies I told myself. I don't know how I became that person, but I'm trying to become someone else now. Someone you wouldn't have to be ashamed of. Maybe one day, years from now, you'll write back. Or maybe you won't. Either way, I need you to know I'm sorry for everything. John, I folded the letter and placed it in the drawer with the others. I didn't cry. I'd done enough crying. Maybe someday. John, I whispered to the empty kitchen. But not today. At 9 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Jessica stood on the porch holding a small potted Christmas tree. Behind her, Patricia carried a tin of homemade gingerbread cookies. "We thought you shouldn't be alone today, Mr. Garcia," Jessica said. I looked at them. My former student, my former daughter-in-law. Not family by blood, but here, present, showing up. I smiled, a real smile. "Come in. I just made coffee." Patricia hesitated. "Are you sure I know coffee is—" "It's okay," I said. "Really. Come in." We sat around the kitchen table. Jessica decorated the little tree while Patricia opened the tin. The smell of ginger and cinnamon filled the room. I poured coffee for all three of us. We laughed. We talked about work, about the week ahead. Jessica told me about a new case at the social services agency. Patricia shared news about her job in Seattle, how she'd started over, built something new. No one mentioned John, not to avoid him, but because today was about the people here, not the person gone. After they left, I sat alone in the quiet house. The little tree blinked its lights on the table. Outside, Denver snow continued its soft, steady rhythm. I thought about Jennifer, about the mornings we'd shared in this kitchen. "I'm still here, love," I whispered. Broken. But here, I thought about John in his cell trying to become someone I might recognize again someday. Maybe in 10 years when he's eligible for parole. I'll be ready. Maybe not. Maybe forgiveness isn't a destination, but a road I'm still walking. Right now, I have Jessica's laughter, Patricia's monthly cards, the seniors I speak to each month, the emails from strangers saying I saved their lives. Right now, I have coffee I brew myself, a house that's mine, a life I fought to keep, and for a 70-year-old man who survived his son's attempt to murder him. That's not just enough. It's everything. Looking back at my story now, I realize how close I came to losing everything. Not just my life, but my ability to trust, to love, to hope. If you're reading this, especially if you're a grandparent or parent dealing with financial pressure from adult children, please don't ignore your instincts like I almost did. That morning, something in John's eyes told me a story I didn't want to believe. Thank God I listened. This true story taught me 3 painful lessons. First, elder abuse doesn't discriminate. It happens in loving families, educated families, families like mine. Second, addiction can transform the child you raised into someone unrecognizable. And third, survival isn't the same as healing. I survived that Christmas morning, but healing took 2 years of therapy, community support, and faith that God had a purpose for my pain. If I could give one piece of advice from these grandpa stories I've shared at senior centers across Colorado, trust your gut. If something feels wrong with your coffee, your documents, your family dynamics, investigate. Don't let love blind you to danger. God gave us instincts for a reason. My true story isn't about revenge or bitterness. It's about rebuilding, about finding peace when happiness seems impossible, about chosen family, Jessica, Patricia, the strangers who email me filling the spaces where blood family failed. I'm 70 years old. My son is in prison. And somehow, by God's grace, I'm still here to tell these grandpa stories, hoping they might save someone else's life. If this story resonated with you, please leave a comment below sharing your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel for more true stories of survival and resilience. And if you know an elderly loved one who might benefit from hearing this, please share it with them. Your comment or share could save a life. Thank you for listening to my story. God bless you all.